Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first of our summer webinar series. Today's webinar is How Do Rogue 3P Marketplace Sellers Affect Your Brand and Why? Today's webinar is presented by Michelle Daling of SageTree and hosted by Supplier Community. After enjoying today's webinar, please take the opportunity to check out the other webinars we have in our summer series by going to our website, supplier.community. Michelle, thank you for being here today, and I'm going to hand it over to you.
All right. Well, like I said, my name is Michelle Daling. I'm with SageTree. We are part of Advantage Solutions. We have a variety of different solutions within the e-commerce and brick and mortar space. SageTree, however, focuses specifically on online sales. So we have a suite of services, and I am the leader of our seller enforcement team. So we are specialized in taking care of third-party challenges. So without further ado, I'm going to get started here and see if I can get this thing to work now. There we go. All right. So main takeaways that I hope that you get from today's meeting is to understand the context of the marketplace, to learn about a few different kinds of third-party sellers and the different pain points that they cause. I want to discuss the ongoing marketplace enforcement complexities, because there are several of them, and help you understand how to reduce or eliminate any rogue third-party sellers that might be affecting your brand. And then we're going to also review some different ways to protect your brand and solve for specific pain points. So we always start with the marketplace context, because it's pretty important to understand how this is all interconnected. So what is an open 3P marketplace and who has one? So obviously we're all really aware of the fact that Amazon and Walmart, eBay have third-party marketplaces. Amazon's definitely one of the biggest. Walmart's is a little bit smaller, and then of course eBay was really the originator of the marketplace. And I've got some interesting statistics here as we go through a bit more of this context. Jet is out there, but they're not as prevalent as they were a year or two ago, and it looks like their market share is definitely shrinking. Rakuten is a new one that's out there, and of course they are running a ton of commercials on TV and raising awareness to the availability of items on their site. Some new 3P marketplaces that are entering the fray are Target. They haven't really announced yet how they're going to run their marketplace. It could be similar to Amazon, where there are all different kinds of 3P sellers, or it could be manufacturers direct to consumers on their retail site. And same thing with Kroger and Albertsons. They've made some announcements that they're going to open a 3P marketplace, but we don't have any specifics yet on exactly what that's going to look like. So we continue to keep an eye on these three and see how it all is going to shake out here in the end. Amazon's 3P sales growth is pretty significant. And if you look back to 2013, the pink represents the third-party marketplace, and the gray represents the Amazon 1P relationship. The blue is other, so that includes like Amazon Web Services, it includes some advertising, and of course that piece is growing too, but that's not the concerning part for anyone. I think the thing that is noteworthy here is that in 2017, the 3P marketplace overtook the 1P marketplace in terms of market share on the site. These days, it's between 52 and 54% of all items that are sold on Amazon are sold by a third-party seller. And that creates a specific amount of pain points for a lot of different brands, because I don't think the end consumer is incredibly aware that they're not buying directly from the brand or from Amazon.com themselves. So it definitely creates some issues for a lot of brands. I think this is going to change based on some things that Amazon is putting into place right now. There's definitely been a lot of talk. Bloomberg put out an article that they're going to transition a lot of sellers that are currently have a 1P relationship with Amazon over to become third-party sellers versus a direct relationship. So I think that these numbers are going to skew even higher into the 3P than the 1P moving forward with these changes that are coming. So most popular retail websites in the United States, obviously Amazon, we know that. Walmart is number 2, but I think that something that's surprising is that eBay is number 3. So if you have products on eBay and you're not taking a look at it, seeing what kind of sellers are out there, this is definitely an eye-opening slide because they have a pretty large market share in terms of unique monthly visitors. And it's no longer that people are just going on there to buy, antiques and collectibles and weird things from their childhood or, things to replace things that have been broken in their home. There's a significant amount of CPG items that are on eBay these days. Leading online marketplace websites in the US, eBay is number 2 after Amazon, and then of course followed by Walmart. And then this is really about Amazon's percentage of sales by third-party sellers. So you see that back in 2007, it was around 26%, and it's really kind of hung around this 50, 51, 52% for a while here. Q1 2019, 53% of all the items that were sold by third-party sellers. So this is an interesting slide because it shows you the channels that are used to purchase products. And I've highlighted here in green the third-party marketplace being where people are buying these products. Obviously, books, in terms of a 3P marketplace, it's what Amazon started doing. Like they started with selling books online. But I think that it's interesting that a lot of these percentages for a third-party marketplace are higher than both the brand's website themselves and a retail website. Obviously, physical store still owns a majority of percentage in a lot of these, with the exception of books and clothing and apparel, and obviously furniture. People like to sit on it, see what it feels like and looks like. But a lot of items here, there's a high percentage that are purchased within a third-party marketplace as well. So some fun facts about Amazon. Amazon's 3P marketplace opened in 2000, so it has been around for almost 20 years. They added over 1 million new third-party sellers globally in 2019 as of the end of June, so that's only 6 months. That's equivalent to over 2,700 sellers every single day that are new as a third-party marketplace seller. There are over 400,000 sellers that are new on Amazon in the US alone this year. 52% of all units are sold by 3P sellers, and 3P sales resulted in a 27% year-over growth in 2018 versus just 12.5% year-over-year growth for the 1P channel. Why is this important? I think a lot of people don't understand that the third-party marketplace is a really big source of revenue for Amazon. Anywhere between 6 to 20% of the sale price of the item, Amazon gets back as a referral fee. The average is around 15%. They also charge and get storage, handling, and shipping fees for any item that's sold as an FBA item or an item that's stored in their warehouse and is Prime eligible. Their pay-per-click advertising is now open to third-party sellers, so that's another source of revenue. They can bid on items. They can bid against keywords from any manufacturer or other third-party seller. So they definitely are generating revenue from advertising. And then any individual seller account is 99 cents per item up to 40 items. So say you're just selling, where some people start, used textbooks from college. And you've got 30 of them. You're paying 99 cents per item. But once you reach that 40 item threshold, you have to open a pro merchant account, and you have a monthly fee of $39.99 that you pay to Amazon to keep that account open. Couple of things about Walmart. They started gradually opening their marketplace to third-party sellers in August of 2016. So they're about 16 years behind Amazon on the third-party marketplace. Their referral fees range anywhere from 8 to 20%, depending on category. Again, the average for them is also about 15%. Sellers are responsible for charging sales tax on Walmart's third-party marketplace. However, there's no monthly or initial setup fee. The only fee that you pay is the referral fee. And they do offer free 2-day shipping flag available to all marketplace sellers, which offers 156% sales boost on average. They also allow them to utilize strike-through pricing and flags to increase conversion rates for third-party marketplace items. Walmart also boasts over 110 million visitors, which can help expand client audiences and reach new clients. And then a couple of fun things about eBay. It was the first open marketplace in the world. It was launched in 1995. It initially opened as an auction site. However, most items that are purchased through eBay now are buy it now. And 79% of those items are new. So it's no longer just looking for antiques and collectibles and used things. There are many items now that are new. Research suggests that less than 15% of the items that are currently on the platform are still auction items. And they have 180 million buyers worldwide and boast $2.2 million in billion dollars with a B, in annual revenue. So that sets up a little bit of the context as to the sites that they're selling on. But now I want to talk a little bit about marketplace sellers and who they are. So outside of a manufacturer that would have a 3P market site or a Seller Central account on Amazon, there are really two buckets that I like to talk about. I like to talk about large sophisticated sellers and then a small seller. So a large sophisticated seller would be a building. People go there to go to work, more than one person. They're probably placing purchase orders directly to a manufacturer or to a large distributor. They have a warehouse facility with people that work there that pack things and bundle things together. And they are usually shipping fulfilled by Amazon so that it is a Prime eligible item. They do anywhere from $2.5 to $10 million in annual revenue. Then there are small sellers, and the small sellers are interesting because they create a different kind of pain point. They are probably driving around in a big white van. They head over to the warehouse store and pick up items at Costco or Sam's Club. They break those case packs down, and then you get these weird variations online that aren't supposed to be there. They're shopping clearance aisles, any kind of arbitrage they can get their hands on. They probably use their garage as a warehouse. It's probably one or two people that work out of a basement somewhere. So they're doing up to about $2.5 million in annual revenue, but it's a much smaller operation and a lot more at-home, mom and pop type look to it. To open up a seller account on Amazon takes about 2 minutes. The process is that you need business information, a credit card, a phone number, an email address, and your social security number will work as a tax ID, and you could be up and selling on Amazon in about 20 minutes. Walmart has a bit more stringent specifications and that you have to meet, and they actually go through an approval process. So it's not as fast as Amazon, which allows for a lot of these Amazon sellers when they get in trouble to do a quick costume change, open up a new account, change their name, change their business information, alter it slightly, and now they've got a brand new account that they can sell the same stuff out of. So both of these sellers present a variety of marketplace challenges and pain points. The first one that people always think about when we talk about a third-party marketplace is price degradation and margin erosion. And while it's important and it's prevalent, it is not the only or the most important thing for a lot of brands to be concerned about. We also have high retail pricing, which can affect brands because, like I said, the majority of people out there do not realize that Amazon has this entire marketplace. And you're not buying from Amazon or the manufacturer, you're buying from someone else. And sometimes the way that these folks source their products, and they bake all of these fees in, their 15% to Amazon and their shipping and handling so that they can make money on the item. They bake all these fees in, and now you have these really crazy high prices for items that are generally, especially in store, not that expensive. I've seen items that are sold in store for around $1, and I found it for $9.47 on Amazon. And again, that affects brand integrity because a lot of people will think, well, why is the brand price gouging to sell on Amazon when it's absolutely not the case. Quality control becomes a huge issue, especially because you don't know who these folks are. how they're storing products, what temperature they're storing them at, how they're shipping them, how they're being handled while they're in their possession. So it creates some quality control issues that affect not only the equity of your brand, but online reviews. We see a lot of reviews about sloppy shipping practices from third-party sellers that are then merged with reviews from the brand, and you've got a low star rating because of mistakes that 3P sellers are making. Another issue that we see a lot is bad content, and this can affect your brand because the way that these sellers can variate onto SKUs, especially on Amazon, you've got great content, you've spent a bunch of money making sure that your images look great, and you've got 5 bullet points, and they all make a lot of sense, and your title's really great. And then all of a sudden this 3P comes on, variates onto your item, and now their content takes over when they win the buy box. And so you've got to get rid of these third-party sellers so that your great content is the content that's showing on Amazon. And then some of the other ones, counterfeit products, we see it a lot in some other categories, especially in obviously higher priced categories, not so much in consumer packaged goods. We see poor seller responses. We see bad product reviews. I talked about that already. But ultimately, at the end of the day, all of these things put together can damage your brick and mortar retailer relationships with your partners. I've seen it where a retailer has come back to a brand and said, this is being sold on Amazon by a third-party seller for this amount. This is what you charge me. This is what I sell it in store. Either fix the problem or change my pricing and make me whole on margin. And that can be a very difficult conversation, and it can be an expensive one. So understanding the ongoing marketplace complexities, there's several different options to help you take control of your brand online. Some of them are easier than others. I'm going to talk you through some of the options that we here at Sage Tree offer our clients. There are probably some others out there, but these are really the main focuses. And when people start to talk about taking control of online marketplace, a lot of people immediately start to talk about EMAP or an electronic minimum advertised pricing policy. And while they're great policies to have, these policies generally are difficult to enforce when you've got a large third-party marketplace seller issue because you don't know who these sellers are. Your distributors are probably not disclosing to you that they are selling to them. And if they're affecting your price, it's really difficult to find out how to cut them off and how to get rid of them because you don't have any direct relationship with them. So EMAP is best served really for your retail partner, such as your Walmart.com, Target. If you're in the pet industry, a big one is Chewy or Petco. There's so many of them. But it really is to help manage that relationship, to make sure that your retail partners are meeting your minimum advertised pricing policy. And it can affect your traditional pricing strategies. So it is by far the hardest one to manage. And it does take unilateral enforcement. So it's pretty intense. Seller enforcement really helps to go after these unauthorized third-party resellers and figure out some issues within any kind of supply chain leaks that you have. And then we have a third offer that's a lot easier, and it's just called unwanted reseller notification or reseller identification. And it's pretty easy to manage because it's just some initial reaching out to those resellers to try and figure out who they are. Management of these, again, MAP is every single day. You have to be looking at this price and sending out notifications to any violators. The policy usually states how many strikes before you cut them off, either at a brand level or a SKU level. Is it 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? You have to take into consideration promotional pricing exclusions, any kind of MAP holidays you want to run. Seller enforcement communication is pretty easy, though. There's an upfront, like this person is approved or not approved, and then send everyone else a letter. And then same thing with the unwanted reseller and reseller identification. It's usually project-based. The internal communication for a brand is pretty easy. You decide what your objectives are and then go after them. And then we have ongoing maintenance. So MAP is continuous. It's for the rest of your life. or the rest of the life of the policy. You want to take a look at it every single day, make sure that everyone's adhering to the policies, that it's fair, and that no one is receiving any kind of special treatment or exclusions. Seller enforcement, since we're only really focused on 7 or 8 US-based open marketplaces, the maintenance on it's pretty easy. The initial enforcement is a lot of work up front to make sure that you get to the number of authorized resellers that you're looking for. But after that, it's really just checking to make sure that no one new is popping up and no one that had previously taken items down has come back online thinking that you're not watching anymore. And then unwanted reseller and reseller identification is project specific, usually 60 to 90 days and not ongoing. So it's pretty easy on maintenance as well. So now I want to talk to you a little bit more about marketplace enforcement solutions and how they can help your brand. And we're going to go from easiest to most complex. So the first one is reseller identification. Reseller identification is really helping a brand to figure out who some of these resellers are, and perhaps you're okay with the brand because you're not on the marketplace, or the reseller because you're not on the marketplace yourself, or they're offering bundle packs or interesting variations that you don't offer yourself that's helping to raise brand awareness. So what the goals are for reseller identification is just to identify them and connect them with a brand representative so that you can help them with their content so that they can have approved images, approved descriptions, great bullet points, all the things that are reflective of your brand and your brand equity so that they're representing your brand in the best light possible because they're doing something for your brand or partnering with you in a way that you're not able to do yourself. So that would be reseller identification. Why does it make sense? Again, some people approve of these sellers. And they're helping to give your brand additional visibility. But there's an opportunity to reach out and thank them for support and offer them that content. Questions to ask and answer when we're talking about, is this the right option for you? Do we approve of 3P sellers? Are there trusted sellers that could use some help with our content or our images? And do we have a contact person internally that we can put them in touch with to help to deliver these items to them? So that is first. And that really, again, covers any kind of content issues you'd be having. Unwanted reseller notification is the next step in brand enforcement. And this one really doesn't require legal policies to be put in place. The next two that we talk about, we'll talk a little bit about that. For unwanted reseller notification, we're just really reaching out. It's kind of a first shot across the bow to see how many of these resellers are heavily invested in your brand, how many of them are going to come back to you and tell you that they're not taking items down, quote something legal, and just refuse to remove items. So a lot of them that are not heavily invested, though, that are kind of fly-by-night and they're finding items through arbitrage or clearance aisles, they're going to go away because they really don't want the hassle. So the goal of reseller notification, unwanted reseller notification, is to reduce the number of 3P sellers in the marketplace, which in turn then also, again, helps you to control your brand equity through your content, your variations, your reviews, and your questions and answers. Why could this one make sense for you? No legal policies are required for this process for notification. Generally, a maximum of 2 notifications is sent out to each reseller, stating that they're not approved. We don't use any kind of language that could be misconstrued as legal, just saying they're not approved to be selling on the marketplace. The engagement on these is estimated at 60 to 90 days. That's depending on the number of sellers that are out there in the marketplace. It could take longer if you've got a pretty big problem to get through notifications to all of these sellers, or it could be shorter. Ongoing compliance with this one is not guaranteed because there's no ongoing monitoring. It's usually a project-based type of a solution. So based on the number of non-compliant resellers, this could be a great way to identify whether or not you're going to need some legal intervention in order to gain better control of your brand online. So questions on this one to ask and answer is, do we have a budget to work with a law firm? If the answer is not right now, or we would need to prove why, then this is a great option for you to start to gain some control over the brand. Do we need a proof of concept in order to convince others that we can solve our 3P issues? I have a lot of brands that I speak with that say, we've been told we can't solve this because of XYZ. There are ways to solve this. We work with a law firm that can help put some policies in place to help solve it once and for all. But if you need help proving why that would be necessary, this is a great step to show we can get down X percentage, but the rest of them have told us they're not taking it down, so we need some kind of legal intervention or legal solution. Another question is, would we like to address this only a few times a year versus ongoing? You know, this is something you could turn on for 3 months, 6 months, turn it off, turn it back on, you know, kind of take control of the marketplace that way. So seller enforcement is really the ultimate solution in controlling third-party marketplace sellers on all platforms. It's a lot more intense. It's a 3-step process. The first step is to work with a legal team to create some distribution policies that, and I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on TV. I know just enough to be dangerous here. So I'll give you the really high level of what the distribution policies can do for you. So it's a policy. It's not an agreement or a contract. You send it out to your distribution partners. They're supposed to send on then a reseller policy to anyone that they're selling to. Generally, these state that they can sell on their own URL, so momandpopshop.com, but they can't sell as a third-party marketplace seller on any open marketplaces such as Amazon, Walmart, eBay, etc. They then also put into these policies what are called material differences. And there are over 70 material differences that you can take a look at, and the attorneys can help to identify what would be best for your brand. But there are material differences that they can help you put in place that would make your product materially, not physically, materially different than the product that's being sold online through unauthorized third-party resellers. And what that does is it helps to circumvent what a lot of these resellers will quote in some of the nastygrams that they like to send back saying, I'm protected by the first-party sale doctrine. I can sell whatever I want. But these material differences help to give you a legal leg to stand on in order to remove them because the products are materially different based on quality control checks or access to customer service 24/7, or like I said, there are 70 plus to choose from. It just really depends on your brand and what makes sense for your brand. The second piece of seller enforcement is marketplace monitoring and light enforcement. And that's where you scrape the platforms, you take a look at who's out there, send notifications to anyone that's not authorized or you don't want selling. If they, again, come back and say, we can do this and it's okay, then you send them back to the attorneys for a cease and desist letter. And if they still don't comply, then it goes to escalated legal enforcement, which could be a draft complaint or the beginning of a lawsuit. So seller enforcement really has 4 goals. Like I said, it's the most intense. It's definitely the most effective, and it covers the most pain points. So one thing that is a goal with seller enforcement is we want to improve effectiveness of any kind of advertising strategies or trade spend that you're spending online. These third-party sellers can be bidding against your own keywords while advertising on these platforms, causing your bids to be more expensive. They can also steal the buy box at the last minute after you've paid for a customer to click on your ad, and then they see something different as they go to checkout and they change lanes all of a sudden at the last minute and buy from a third-party seller. So you could be not converting as many sales even though you're paying for the ads, and you could be paying more for your keywords depending on how they're bidding against you. With seller enforcement, we want to stabilize or increase your average sales price across all channels. Again, if you take a lot of these disruptive third-party sellers out of the marketplace, in general, the pricing has a tendency to stabilize. And because Amazon sometimes will turn their own buy box off based on third-party sellers, or they'll break the buy box so you have to choose the seller to purchase from. If the third-party seller pricing is really out of whack, Amazon will do some weird things with buy boxes, which then also affects other retailers if they're price matching. So getting rid of these third-party sellers that are massively disrupting price only helps to stabilize our increase across all the channels. Obviously, we want to, again, reduce the number of third-party sellers that are out there so that you can win more buy boxes, and then control your brand equity again, reviews, content, variations, etc. So why does this make sense? The legal foundations really give you the most secure way to go after third-party sellers. There are up to 2 notifications that are sent out to reseller before a cease and desist letter would be sent. There's ongoing tracking for all resellers, because sometimes, like I said, after 3 months, they think you're no longer watching and they relist items that they had previously taken down. So there's ongoing tracking and monitoring to make sure that they're not popping back up. And it really is the ultimate solution for online brand protection with really high compliance rates due to the legal involvement. So questions on this one to ask and answer: do we have in-house counsel that wants to take this on, or a budget to engage with a legal firm at this time? Do we have a team member that can help to manage this process? There always has to be a point person with this one so that notifications can be checked, or if there's something that comes back that needs to be flagged that might need some additional assistance, a team member to help get that to the right person is always necessary. And then, do we want to eliminate most resellers completely? So if you've got a large presence, but you also have a large 3P presence and you'd like to convert all those sales back into your channel, the answer to that would be yes. So finally is MAP or EMAP policy monitoring and enforcement. Like I said, EMAP monitoring is by far one of the most difficult for a lot of brands to get a handle on, just because the involvement in the day-to-day is really intense. So MAP only has 2 goals, and that is to stabilize or increase your sales across all retail partners and control your advertised or your visible pricing online. Again, we're not concerned about content or variations or some of the other things that we're talking about with third-party resellers. This is really just with your retail partners, making sure that everyone has a level playing field in terms of what pricing is visible online. So why does it make sense? There's, again, EMAP policies are legal policies that have to be drafted and put together. They have to be distributed out to your partners. You have to give them 30 days notice to let them know it's going into effect. And then once all of that happens, the ongoing monitoring starts, and it's every single day. It's a couple of times a day. If they're on a platform that will change or adjust pricing every 15 minutes or an hour in order to make sure that their pricing is level with anyone else's, it's several times a day to take a look at it. It is the solution to protect your pricing and some margin erosion. But of course, if you have this large third-party presence out there that's affecting any other kind of pricing, or if anyone's looking at the marketplace pricing and say, well, Amazon's priced at this, when it's not actually Amazon, it's a 3P seller, these policies can be very difficult to enforce. The other thing about this is you have to uniformly enforce these across all e-tail and retail partners, unless you have some kind of MAP holiday built in where you're going to let everyone run a BOGO for 2 weeks and you don't care what the pricing looks like. You also have to be willing to make some hard decisions and stop ship to partners for a period of time if they continually violate or if their violations are not corrected. So questions on this one to ask and answer. Do we have a team member to help internally manage this process? There's a lot of internal communication that has to take place between teams, sales teams, marketing teams, everyone within the organization to make sure that this runs smoothly. Are we willing to uniformly address advertised pricing with all retail partners? You can't give one partner a break and never enforce on them, but enforce on everyone else. Are we prepared to stop shipments to partners if they continue to break this policy? Obviously, there can be some ramifications in net shipments if you have to cut off a large partner because they continue to break your policy. Does our internal team understand this policy, and are they willing to set up promotions accordingly with the partners that they work with? And then how big is our 3P problem? It goes back to that whole, if they're really affecting your pricing, you're never going to get a MAP policy under control. And are the rogue 3Ps specifically affecting your online pricing? So summary solutions. I've got a chart here. This presentation will be available after the call, so that if you wanted to take a look at it, figure out how to get your problem under control and what's really the best fit for you based on your specific pain points. I put this little chart together to try and help with that. Well, I'd like to thank you all for your time today. If you have any questions on third-party marketplace sellers and how we can help you take control of the marketplace, I'd be happy to answer them. You can reach out to me via email at any time. And thanks so much for joining us today.
Again, thank you to everyone for joining us today for the first in our summer webinar series. We want to thank Michelle of SageTree for today's wonderful presentation. Please join us tomorrow for our next webinar, Reviews, the Most Trusted Form of Advertisement, presented by Maya Lichter, also of SageTree. We have an entire series of these informative presentations coming up, and you can learn all about them by visiting our website, supplier.community. We connect you to the experts. Thank you and have a great day.